when I came back from India, I decided I would fucking excel at everything.
Yeah.
Became a great baseball player. People said I could have gone to the majors, became a great soccer player. I finished all of the calculus mathematics in 9th grade. I had to rely on myself. I had to do good for the suffering of my parents, my grandparents, and those teachers who did so much for me. By the way, many of the teachers in the 1970s would hold 3 jobs. They did that because they loved teaching.
Exactly. There's not many teachers like that anymore.
My 8th grade teacher, a guy called Mr. Summers, he let us advance as much as we could. My high school has no more math courses. Another incredible woman comes, a woman called Stella Alexiak. She just passed away about 5 years ago at the age of 93. She said, this kid, there's no more math courses. There's no more science courses. So she created the concept of independent study, which was unheard of in the 70s. She set up a program where I could get a job while I was finishing up my humanities courses. We were looking for different jobs I could do, but I needed skills. Interesting enough, in 1977, 78, an article came out in a small newspaper, and my mom now is working as a mathematician in a school. A friend of her gives her this article. In the article, they say in New York that there was a professor at New York University called Henry Mullish, whose recent memorial I did a couple of years ago. Henry Mullish was going to select 40 students who would get to come to New York University. This is 1978 and learn computer science. Now, in those days, a computer would fill up this entire room.
Yeah, I know.
But he had the vision. He realized that one day we would need software engineers. I mean, this guy was a visionary. 40 students were going to be selected. You had to apply. You had to get recommendation letters. You had to submit your grades. You had to be the top of the United States. And it was only open to 16-year-olds. I was 14, I think 13 and a half, 14. So we applied. People wrote letters saying why I should be able to submit. I get accepted. And I was the only Indian kid from New Jersey. So my mom would drop me off, if you've been to Newark, at this train station called the Newark Penn Station. I would take the train into New York as a 14-year-old child. Most parents are so protective of their children, they won't even let them walk down the street right now. So I would get to take that train ride, dropping me off at 6 a.m., arrive about 7:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It was it was like a Navy SEAL training program because they selected these very smart kids and 6, 7 programming languages, digital circuit theory. This is in 78. Worked on a supercomputer and graduated #1 in that class, won the honors award. It's all documented. That's when this teacher, this independent studies teacher, really loved and cared about me. That's the kind of teachers we used to have. She said, this kid can't go to waste. We got to figure something out for him. So I ended up getting a job in Newark in a local medical college where they hired me as a full-time research fellow at the age of 14, a guy called Dr. Les Michelson. The agreement was that they would treat me like an adult. There were people minimum 30 years older than me. The oldest guy was like in his 60s, a physicist. This was in a small medical college where computing was just coming. People were starting to use computers in medicine. I get given the opportunity to work among these illustrious people. I'd go in with my briefcase, dressed up clean, had my own desk. I really want you to ask what the fuck was Trump and Kennedy doing at that age. And I really want you guys to walk in my shoes. This is a hardworking kid, man. But to me, this was an amazing opportunity that could only happen in America. Dr. Michelson believed in meritocracy, saw my grades, A+ and everything. I worked my butt off because I had no fallback. I didn't have a Kennedy name. I didn't have my father who was running slumlords like Trump. My parents were hard-working class people. So I had to also be hardworking better than them. But I learned also when I came back from India how to meditate. I learned how to connect with God, pray and meditate. My grandfather taught me how to meditate. You see, prayer is always begging to God for something. Meditation is where you listen to God. You listen.
Yes.
And you get intuition. You get your direction. You get your mission in life. And you get connected. So I learned how to do that at a very young age. To give you an idea how very interesting this was, from the age of 12 to 16, it was many of these sages or saints talk about these extraordinary experiences. To tell you the fact, I've had all of those, and I don't talk about them. When people say they've seen the universe in your body, I've seen that. When people talk about the 7 heavens, I've experienced that. It's the first time I'm sharing a lot of this. I learned this at a very, very young age. So by the time I was 14, I'm working full-time at a medical school. Here, by that time, my parents had moved to Livingston, New Jersey. To give you an idea what Livingston, New Jersey is, it's where Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner lived. It's where Chris Christie was a catcher on my baseball team who's now running for president.
Shut up.
He wasn't a fat fuck then. But I was a pitcher. Our team won 13-0 in a very high division, probably the #1 division team. So I was center halfback.
What's your favorite baseball team?
At those days, I like the Yankees.
There we go.
What you have to understand is, so Livingston, New Jersey, now put your hat on, going from Patterson, then to Clifton, and then my parents moved into this because they wanted me to, again, public school. There was a private school. We didn't go to that. I remember moving to Livingston. I felt so out of place. All these people were wealthy. The kids had cars. We had nothing. My parents had a pretty modest home, and it's predominantly all Jewish. Okay. Now, Jewish people think they're the chosen people of God. I would see my Jewish friends who were like normal kids go to Israel and come back wanting to kill every fucking Arab. I was like, what the fuck just happened to my friend? Became a fanatic. A normal 15-year-old kid coming back from Israel wanted to annihilate and burn the shit out of Palestinians. I said, this is fucked up. Now, it is fucked up. So 4,000 kids in my high school, one of about 800, 900 students. I would win every award. I was American Legion Jersey Boy State. They select 2 kids. You have to be an athlete and a good student. I got selected. I got 800s on my SATs. We didn't have tutors like Bobby fucking Kennedy gives his children or Trump gets his children. I just do all the exams. It was problematic for some of the Jewish mothers. I'll give you a very interesting story. So remember, I'm meditating. I'm working hard. The school at the end of the year gives awards out. My mom wanted me to win all these awards because she came from nothing. Well, that year I win the mathematics award. I win the #1 student award. So in the student auditorium, the teacher gets up. Now, the night before, my mom was supposed to come to that award ceremony. She had a horrible accident, was hit head on by a car. All of her teeth are knocked out. She's in ICU.
Oh my God.
So me and my dad very, very sadly go to this award ceremony. The teacher of the school gets up, Mr. Summer, and he goes, typically we give the award to 2 kids, but in my 36 years here, there's no one that came close to Shiva. No one. And he goes, he's not only won the best student award, but also the Mats award. Standing ovation. By the way, I had visualized that in my third eye the year before.
Nice.
So it's like a dream. So I get the awards, but it's a very sad moment because my mom's in the ICU and I wanted her to be there. I get the award. I'm walking out of the student auditorium and this crazy fucking Jewish mother comes running up to me and says, your fucking son, this doesn't mean anything. My son, Eric Greenberg, could have done that, but Eric chose not to work this year. I'm like looking at this. I'm saying, what the fuck? The jealousy, the anger, pure, unadulterated jealousy and anger at the fact that I had worked so hard and that I had been recognized. Now, the year before, let me give you another story. I had aced all my classes. This is in 7th grade. Every class, A+. The school teachers decide to hold an exam to decide who's the best student. I already won everything. So they have an exam, and I'm not invited to participate in the exam. Just like I'm not invited to debate. Just like I'm not invited to the Senate subcommittee hearings. And all you fucking guys, you all old white boys who sit on the Judiciary Committee, I'm calling you old white boys. That's why people call you fucking racist. That is racist. It's classist. It's racist. It's not only classist because you're telling all the working class kids. So you see, I've had to deal with this fucking thing all my life because they're jealous of people who actually work hard. They're jealous of people who actually do the work. These people don't do any work and they try to steal credit. So they wouldn't let me participate in the fucking exam. They don't let me participate in my exam. I'm home. My parents are seeing me upset. My mom says, what happened? It was PTA night. My mom had just worked a 16-hour night. They get in the car. They go to see that teacher and they go, why isn't my son allowed to participate? They don't have an answer. My dad's like, do you know you're going to create a Hitler out of my son? He's going to hate all of you. And they go, what did you say? That's anti-Semitic. My dad said, you're going to create a fucking Hitler. They let me participate. I aced it a win. But to all of you listening,
now they don't have one.
I have had to deal with the fact that I worked hard and did the good things. Maybe because I'm born in this color skin. Maybe they're just so fucking jealous.
I think it's a fear thing. People who are educated, who could articulate things, who have the facts to back them.
It's much more simpler than that. They hate people who work hard. They hate America. America was built on people who work their butt off. And they think there's a free ride. They think you're going to get success because of your name, of some neighborhood you live in, and you can get a free ride. You have to understand, when I grew up in Jersey, I grew up among hardworking Italian immigrants. I made money landscaping. I made money painting homes as a child. I was trained by a Yugoslavian painter. You paint a trim, you better paint it fucking right.
I know.
You cut the hedges, you better cut it and clean up all the raking of all the material. These people would get so pissed if you didn't do that right. Demanding people who had excellence. These people taught me. These people were my great teachers. So when I did a work, I did it with perfection. I did it with excellence, not for me because I'd hear their voices. I'd hear their toil, how much they suffered to get to what they had. It was in honoring those people. But anyway, so 7th grade, you have that incident.
Yeah.
Then you have this crazy woman
Yep.
literally telling me, my son, Eric, could have won that award, but he chose not to work hard this year. This is a adult.
Yeah.
I was more concerned about my mom. We went to the ICU. I didn't even share my mom the award. I was more concerned about her. But this is the level of injustice I grew up around.
Yeah.
This kind of bullshit every day. Well, I got a job, full-time job as a 14-year-old kid working at that medical school in the heart of Newark, New Jersey. Most white people are still afraid to go into Newark. In the parking lot, people get mugged. I wasn't afraid. I would take the bus down, right, into Newark. I would work a full 8-hour, sometimes 12-hour, sometimes 16-hour days. Then I go back and I had to do my humanities courses. Initially, I was given a job of using the computer with advanced algorithms, mathematics that people learn in PhD level that I was developing to understand why babies were dying in their sleep. I had sleep data of baby sleep patterns, and I was creating predictive algorithms, which you'd call AI today. We just called them Haar and Walsh transforms, pattern recognition algorithms. This is, again, 1978. In fact, I ended up discovering some very powerful ways to predict when a child would suddenly stop breathing. Many years later, I wrote a paper on this. Did that before MIT, okay? In Newark, New Jersey, where nothing is supposed to come out of, in a small medical school. The point is, the people I worked around were amazing people. I had loving parents and a teacher. It was in that triangle of love, collaboration, people caring.
And hard work.
Freaking, I'd work until 2 a.m, like I said. That's where I discovered the fundamentals of sudden infant death syndrome. In that place, in Newark, New Jersey, I was given another challenge. Many of you guys who are in your 30s may not remember that if you looked in any institution in those days, any large organization or small or large, how did people communicate? Well, they surely didn't have the cell phone. Faxes were just coming, but they had the thing called the inter-office mail system. And the inter-office mail system was a very powerful system. It was a paper-based mail system where every secretary in every little office, interconnected set of offices, connected by pneumatic tubes. Little tubes would go from office to office. Every office had a secretary, always a woman, because women could only be a secretary, a teacher, or a mother or a nurse in those days. This woman had on her desktop a very particular box called the inbox. It was made of metal. Another box called the outbox. Another box called drafts. Sometimes they were wooden or metal.
Sound familiar, folks?
Then a physical desk called a desktop. Underneath that desktop was a trash can. On top of that desk was little paper clips.
Wow.
You getting the story?
Oh, I'm hearing it.
Then you had a thing called a typewriter. Up until 1982, I'd use a typewriter. She would type something called a memo. The boss would come up to her and say, Charlotte, take this message. She'd have to listen. And you go, da-da-da-da-da, to Dr. Blah, from Dr. Michelson, subject, hiring of John Medlar, attachment, let's attach his resume, and write to the head of HR, dear Dr. Blah, we're thinking of hiring John, attaches his resume. Please tell me what you think. Please review it. And then he would CC, carbon copy, 5 other people who John would be invited for an interview. And maybe he would BCC his boss. CC literally meant you take a paper, take a carbon paper, attach another paper, type it. Then after she did it, she would put it in the drafts folder. The doctor would redline it. She would have to go a couple of iterations when it was ready. The memo would go in an envelope, addressed, tied in, and put into these pneumatic tubes which shot out. Sometimes a local postman would come, the inter-office postman, take it out. You could do registered mail. This is a complex system. Now, those old mainframes, you could do simple text messages, like little text messages. That's not what we're talking about.
No.
I was asked to convert this entire system. No one had done this in human history before. This entire system into the electronic version. People thought this was impossible. In fact, doctors are going, why are you wanting to do that? I love just using, my secretary, just tell her what to do. You want to make me a secretary? Is that what you want to do, kid? It's the kind of way they attack me. I love these women I had great respect for them. I had to write down all those features. If you go to inventorofemail.com, you'll see everything's documented. Then I had to write all the code for that in a language called Fortran in 8 kilobytes of memory. I had to write the memory management, work with the old HP operating system. I wrote 50,000 lines of code as a 14-year-old kid to transport this entire paper-based system, not just a simple exchange of text messages, which goes back to Samuel Morse, in this environment, which had a network environment between Newark, Piscataway, they had different computers, and created and named that system email. In 50,000 lines of code, I captured every one of those features because these secretaries were going to leave the physical inter-office mail system to the electronic unless it had all those features. Inbox, outbox, folders, BCC, CC, registered mail. First time anyone in human history had done that. It was done by a 14-year-old kid in Newark, New Jersey. I named that system email, a term that I created. So not only did I create the code, I also created the term to name that system. If you created something called a car with the motor, the engine, you called it car, you're the inventor of the car.
Yeah. It's plain and simple.
Plain and simple. There
Yeah.
is no controversy. It's time to shatter the swarm. It's time for us. It's time for one of us. Truth, freedom, health. Shiva
Yeah.
for president, period.